Hello everybody, and thank you for attending this initiative by ChemOrbis. Today I would like to show you the latest trends and situation about polystyrene. So let's move to the polystyrene homepage on ChemOrbis website. As you will see, there are dedicated news, prices, details, and the weekly analysis, links, and many other things that you can find on this homepage just dedicated to polystyrene. In particular, the weekly analysis is published for polystyrene every Friday afternoon, and the ones that you see here were published on Friday 24th of February. Reading the first lines of the reports in the various regions, you can see, for example, in China, in some markets, the prices are already starting to have a downturn trend, whereas in Italy and Northwest Europe, for example, most people were waiting for the styrene contract settlement for March. In fact, if I look for the styrene settlement, it happened just today, and we can see the news here. It says that the contract was settled at 1650 euro per ton, an increase by $90 per ton over February. Of course, this is the contract settlement, but if you want to understand more about the more dynamic spot market, you can go to the weekly monomer analysis for styrene, where we report for the three areas, Asia, Europe, and the US, the current situation on the spot market. And if you can read between the lines here, you will see that the situation is pretty dishomogeneous, where in Asia the players are reporting already a downturn, very determined for styrene. In Europe, more or less stable, but already downturn, which was bigger during the week, but finally in the week is settled with minus 20 or so on the spot. And in the US is stable, but after very strong increases. But why is it happening such a situation on styrene and polystyrene? Well, if you look at the supply situation, looking at the production news, where there is a table we report in ChemOrbis with all the plants that have problems, both producing monomer and polymer, you can see the table is organized by area, name of the company, you have what they produce, monomer or polymer, the nameplate capacity, where they are situated, the situation where it is, these plants shut down, restart, and so on, the duration of the problem, and the last comment available on the situation. And you can see how big is the list for monomer for Asia, for example. It's really big in such a small polymer like polystyrene. And that's why what happened in Asia, dramatic increases starting since last year. Moving down to Europe, you can see that the situation is not so bad. Just two plants are reporting having problems, both producing styrene, Trinseo and Synthos. For Europe, though, this is not the main source of stress. I will tell you later on which are the reasons why the prices of polystyrene are going so much dramatically up in Europe. In ChemOrbis, we have produced some analytical tools that allow to have in a glance what's happening in various markets. In particularly, this is the product snapshot. What I have done is to compare the prices of 2 weeks, the current week with the previous week. Current week is week beginning 27th of February, and I want to see the prices of raw materials, monomers, and also polymers. And here below you can see the average price for week 1 compared to the price of the week before, both for feedstock, monomers, and for polymers. And you can see what's happening is that this is the change reported between the 2 weeks, absolute terms, percentage terms, and the bar, which is red or blue according to if it is a decrease or an increase. The interesting thing is that for the spot market for styrene, for example, you see a decrease in Asia and Europe, stability in US, like we said. But more importantly, you can see a domination of red bars all around the globe for polymer prices, with very rare exceptions. In some markets like China, the downturn of polymer prices is very marked. In the same table, you can see, for example, that Northwest Euro's GPPS is reported 17-18 euros per ton as an average price, whereas last week it was 17.33. Actually, the week is not finished because until Friday this price can be settled, but what I can see is probably further decreases. Another very important tool that allows us to make personalized graphs is called Price Wizard. With the Price Wizard, we have a complete history of both polymers and monomers over a range of period that we want. So I would like to compare the monomers first, the styrene, over a period of 52 weeks in the three areas, Europe, Asia, and Americas. And I want 52 weeks, and I can show you the graph that shows the price in dollars, but we can make them in euros. And you can see that for the last 10 months, basically, prices were in the three regions more or less in line. Starting at the end of January 2017, prices started to top up to get to a maximum in China, in Asia, and then started a downturn. I'm talking about monomer spot. Then the same is happening for the yellow line, which is reporting the Europe prices for styrene, already decreases for 2 weeks. And then it's a sort of same late reply in Americas, where the prices are reporting to maximum unchanged week over week. We can do the same kind of evaluation, but on polymer prices. For example, I want to compare, for example, Northwest Europe and China prices. Why China, you will ask? Is because China is a spot market, and spot markets tend to anticipate the trend or more slowly contract market. So I will plot GPPS for Northwest Europe versus GPPS China, both local and import, and I create chart. And what we can see is very interesting here. You can see this is the blue line is the import price, the yellow line is the local market. Where you see gaps, it's when the market is not a verdict. So in case of China here is the China New Year. For us, for Europe, is the New Year's Eve, basically the year end. And you can see that, interestingly, prices in China for polymer GPPS are starting to decrease since 2 weeks already, whereas they are stable at the very high level in Northwest Europe since the end of January. So this is interesting, because if the same is happening in China, probably it may happen in Europe as well. Another way to look at interesting graphs is to correlate the monomer price with the polymer price. So what I want to do now is to correlate the styrene Northwest Europe price with the polymer price. So we can see what is the margin that the producers are making over the period. So you can see the plot of the styrene. Styrene has gone up since the end of September, very steadily, very increasing to achieve a top mid of February, start to decrease the last 2 weeks. Polymer price, it was decreasing even after the monomer was increasing, so the margin was squeezing. So if I plan for this to show the delta between the two series of data, I can see clearly that the margin was very stable over 400 tons, euro per tons until mid-November, and then it started to squeeze. And this is a pretty critical period for producers. That's why they are still pushing for increases. Another way to look at the supply-demand situation is to use another analytical tools provided by ChemOrbis, which plots the import and export for a given polymer. So what I want to show you now is the data that shows the kilotons for exports and imports for PS. Starting January 2016, data is all available since January 2000, but we can concentrate only on the last 12 months, basically. Actually, the data is available until November only. And what we can see in a second is this situation. In green you have the bars of exports, and in yellow you have the bars for imports, and you have the scale here. So you can see how the exports actually increased in the last part of 2016. Why were the exports increasing? It's because other markets were paying better prices in the end. And those low prices, very low prices in the local European markets, were not attracting the imports. So you see the imports decreasing. This brings to an unbalanced situation. So the availability is short, and you could have understood that sooner or later a very dramatic increase in prices were going to happen because of the lack of availability of products. So to make conclusions is that we can look at the picture from different angles. Whatever matters is supply-demand situation. And what I encourage you to do is also to see how the prices will move to areas which are pretty spot markets like China, Middle East, Turkey, and other markets like those. Because probably that's what will happen in our home markets in Europe in the coming weeks. Eventually, the higher prices in Europe now will attract more imports in March, and the supply will become greater, and therefore there will be a sort of effect on the polymer prices to start to lower them. In fact, the imports are just being redirected the way we speak now. So this is pretty it. If you are interested to touch base with us, please do, and stay tuned for the next occasion. Thank you.